They poured water on her bunk every night. She never once complained to anyone. The water came again that night, cold and deliberate, running down the frame of her bunk in thin silver threads that caught the barracks light. Private Jordan didn't flinch. She sat with her hands folded, water dripping from her hair onto her folded fingers, and said nothing at all. Behind her, laughter rippled through the room like something rehearsed, something that had happened before and would happen again. She had learned, by now, that silence was the only armor no one could take from her. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Jordan had joined the army for reasons she rarely spoke of. Her father had worn the same patch on his sleeve decades earlier and had come home different, quieter, harder to reach. She wanted to understand him. She wanted to prove something, not to the men who mocked her, but to the version of herself that used to doubt she belonged anywhere. That first week, the whispers started small. A missing boot, a rearranged locker, little cruelties dressed up as pranks. Then the water began, poured over her mattress each night by hands that thought themselves untouchable, hidden behind the cover of barracks darkness and the unspoken rule that new soldiers, especially women, were fair game until proven otherwise. She never reported it. Not once. Some nights, she wrung out her sheets in the communal sink at 2 in the morning, the pipes groaning, her breath fogging in the cold air, and told herself this was simply the price of belonging. Other nights, she lay awake on a damp mattress, staring at the bunk frame above her, wondering if silence made her strong or simply made her invisible. That was the moral weight she carried quietly, the question she never voiced. Was enduring cruelty a kind of courage, or was it just another way of disappearing? The barracks sergeant, a woman named Hale, noticed things others didn't. She noticed the way Jordan's uniform always seemed slightly damp at dawn. She noticed how Jordan's eyes, sharp and alert during drills, dimmed the moment she stepped back inside those walls. Hale said nothing for a long while, only watched, the way a hawk watches before it decides to move. She thought she understood the situation. She was wrong. One evening, the tension in the barracks thickened before anyone spoke a word. Dust drifted lazily through a shaft of fading sunlight near the window, and somewhere down the hall a radio played low, static crackling beneath a forgotten song. The men gathered near the bunk again, bucket in hand, grins already forming, comfortable in a routine they assumed had no witnesses. But this time, the door at the end of the hallway creaked open, and the room went still in a way that felt almost physical, the kind of silence that presses against the ribs. Sergeant Hale stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Behind her stood 2 more soldiers, senior enough that rank alone silenced the laughter instantly. The bucket in Corporal Whitfield's hand seemed suddenly heavier, foolish, exposed. Jordan looked up, water still clinging to her lashes, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't lower her eyes. "How long?" Hale asked quietly. "Has this been happening?" No one answered. The silence itself was the answer. What followed was not shouting, not punishment delivered in dramatic bursts, but something colder and more precise: accountability. Whitfield and the others were reassigned to extra duty, stripped of the easy camaraderie they'd built on someone else's suffering. But it was what happened next that the barracks would remember longest. Hale turned to Jordan and asked her, in front of everyone, why she had never said a word. Jordan's voice, when it came, was steady. "Because I didn't want them to think I couldn't take it," she said. "I wanted to prove I belonged here on my own terms." Hale shook her head slowly. "Strength isn't silence, soldier. Strength is knowing you don't have to carry it alone." The room, once filled with careless laughter, now held something different, a kind of stillness that felt like respect. One by one, soldiers who had once looked away began to look at Jordan differently, some with shame, others with quiet admiration for a resilience they hadn't recognized until it was named aloud. In the weeks that followed, no more water fell on her bunk. Instead, small kindnesses appeared: an extra blanket left folded on her rack during a cold snap, a seat saved for her at mess hall tables, a nod of solidarity during formation. The change wasn't loud. It never is. It arrived the way most real change does, in small gestures that slowly rebuild what cruelty had worn away. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And perhaps that is the truest lesson of all. The water that once fell to break her only revealed how unshakable she already was, drop by drop, night after night, until even silence could no longer hide her strength. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments what you would have done in Jordan's place. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that quiet strength is still strength. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, subscribe, because every voice, even the quiet ones, deserves to be found.